Hi, I'm Hazel. It is almost Saturday, so it is time for a vlog, and it is also Christmas Eve, which isn't really a thing, but it's December the 23rd, so Christmas is almost on top of us. I mentioned this briefly last week, but I wanted to just re-clarify that I am on vacation. I haven't done much last week, I won't be doing much this week, and I may not be doing that much next week. I promise I will be back on track in January. I have some cool projects that I've already started on that I want to get out very early next year, but for the rest of the year, I'm just going to kind of take it a little bit easy and recharge my batteries a little, and the other thing that I want to do is put a lot of time into Arena, just so that when I get into making PvP guides, I have all sorts of beginner to intermediate level PvP guides I want to make, but I want to make sure that my current experience is valid and that I have a bit of a leg to stand on, so I'm getting as much experience as I can, a lot of practice, playing a lot of threes, and just kind of relaxing and taking a little bit of a vacation, doing some holiday stuff for January, but I promise I'm not gone forever. I didn't die. I'm not horribly sick or anything, but I will be back, but just not quite yet. What else? 7.1.5 has hit the background downloaders, which means that it's probably almost done. What you see on the PTR is going to be more or less what you get. They could still make changes, but it's usually at this point of the development cycle that it's more or less ready to go. I wouldn't be surprised if we get it before Nighthold. It's not guaranteed to come out before Nighthold, but there are 7.1.5 is bringing in the micro holidays that they talked about. And as I understand it, the AQ one is in January, so I know they're going to want to get it out before that. So we'll see, but hopefully that's relatively soon, depending on how things go. But of course, the Blizzard dev team is also more or less on vacation, so don't expect any huge changes in the next couple of days. I'm assuming they're gonna take their time off and be with their families, and then come back, and then get everything kind of rolling. So that would be my expectation there. Speaking of things that were compounded by the Blizzard team not being necessarily in the office, the title distribution for Legion PvP Season 1 titles went out. And it's just been a meltdown. Basically, what happened, if you're not a PvP or you're not in the loop, basically what happened is that a lot of people were pushing for titles. As you know, there's certain titles like, Rival, Duelist, Gladiator, Rank 1 Gladiator, whatever, that go out to the certain percentages at the top of the ladder. And in previous expansions, Blizzard actually posted the ladder on their website, so it was really, you could look at the numbers and then see roughly how high you would need to be in rating in order to get those titles. So the cutoffs were very transparent. And there were also third-party sites that tracked that, such as ArenaMate and Arena Tracker. And then in Legion, they redid the Battle.net website, and they have not posted the ladder. There's no Arena ladder on the website anymore. So the only source for people to see the title cutoffs were ArenaMate and Arena Tracker, these third-party websites. And up until the end of the season, those websites were operating on the assumption that there's about 150k players on the ladder, which was consistent with the amount of activity that we'd seen. So all the title cutoffs were generated with the estimate of about 150k, and those put those numbers roughly around where people would expect them to be. And what's happened is the titles have gone out, and not very many of them went out. For the amount of titles that went out to be accurate, there would have had to have been only 50,000 players on the ladder, at most. So 2/3 of the ladder was just not even counted as being active for titles. So there's a bunch of theories as to what could have happened and whether or not they'll fix it, whether or not more titles will go out, whether or not people got rank 1 that shouldn't have, or people that are, there's 2,600 duelists out there. There's just the ratings people got are not consistent with the titles they're getting. And it's unclear as to whether or not how much of that is actually going to stick around. So there's just a whole big meltdown going on in the PvP community right now. It's kind of unfortunate, especially because they have addressed, they released a blue post very, very recently, just earlier today, that they're aware that there are some issues and they're going to look into them, but not to expect an update until early January. So there's going to be some time where some people that thought they were going to get glad that didn't are just kind of mad, and justifiably so. But hopefully they get it sorted out for next season, just because if you have to get 2,800 to be a gladiator, and there's only, 100 people over all of North American WoW getting that, that's just not... the incentives for PvP have been very limited this season. You used to get to 2k, you get the elite gear, you would get to 2,200, you would get your elite weapon, you would get to 2,400, you would get your enchant, you would get to 2,600, you would get your tabard, and then of course there are the titles on top of that. And most of that's gone now, so most of the incentives for PvPing are the titles. If they just got 66% harder to get, I don't think my math's correct, but if they just got much, much harder to get, then a lot of players are probably going to quit. And that's really sad. I mean, if the PvP ladder participation in North America was only 50,000 people, and there's how many millions of people playing WoW, there's obviously a problem there. So hopefully they look into it. A lot of people are throwing around a lot of different reasons as to why they think the PvP is in bad shape right now. So my perspective on it, I don't mind the gearing system. I understand if you're looking for the set for transmog, it's very frustrating to only get pieces from RNG. But I think as far as power goes, that's mitigated enough by the fact that your gear doesn't matter as much, and that when you play, you do tend to get enough to be competitive. I've been playing on my druid, not extensively, but a good amount in the season, and I haven't done a smidge of PvE on her. I've only done arena and battlegrounds, and she's 860, I think. She's mid 860s, so she's fine. So I think the gear system, it's not great, but it's okay. I think the artifact power system is fine because you get enough artifact power from doing PvP, but it is very, very un-alt friendly, and they need much better alt catch-up mechanics for artifact power, particularly for PvP. And I would honestly be totally fine if all of your artifact traits were unlocked when you entered PvP. I don't think that grind is necessarily rewarding as it relates to increasing your PvP power. The problem I have is, and as far as getting more alts into PvP, because a lot of people in the past, they would play lots of different classes and experience PvP from a couple different perspectives. But now, you know, when you have to get honor talents and you got to level, and then you've got to do your artifact power, and then you've got to do your gear, and you got to find teams, and you've got to actually learn the class on top of that, people are doing one. They're doing one character, maybe two if you're crazy, because there's just so many barriers to entry. And for me, the biggest one is, that, like, once you're at 110 that you really need to get started is honor talents. And I would be personally really happy if the first time you get honor talents, to get to the first prestige to actually unlock them all, if that was like twice to 3 times as fast. Just because I don't think that grind is really necessary. And for a lot of classes, for my class in particular, for Resto Druid, very good talents are at the very end. You don't get overgrowth as a Resto Druid until the very last talent of the talent tree. And it's very hard to be competitive in Arena without that. It's an extraordinarily important talent. So I would like to see the honor talent system accelerated for the first unlocking of the honor talents. But I understand there's a lot of people that are looking for progression at a PvP that they feel rewarded by the honor talent system. It's just, I don't get it. But that's just me. Hopefully they sort their stuff out and maybe implement some new incentives for PvP. Maybe implement some more... I would like to see more in-between titles. Historically, the difference between Duelist and Gladiator has been huge, both skill-wise and player-wise. So you end up with people that get to Duelist and they just either play a Duelist forever or they just quit because they know they're never going to really get to Gladiator because it's such a huge step up. So I'd like to see something between that. I would like to see more rating-related cosmetic rewards, but it's hard to say. Anyways, hopefully they at least fix the title thing. I'm personally not waiting for a title. I didn't play enough in Season 1 to get one. But I would like to play a lot in Season 2 and try to get some titles in Season 2. And if it turns out the best one I'm going to be able to get is Rival, then that's a little bit demotivating. I got this is really news. I'm just really excited. I want to show you guys. As an early Christmas gift, look what I got. I got a little fairy dragon. I always wanted one of these, but I hadn't bought one for myself yet. And I got it as a present and I'm so happy. It's got so many different points that you can actually articulate in the wings and then in these little things. And then, of course, the tail is articulatable as well, so you can sort of pose it whatever you want. You could hang it on something if you wanted to hang it by its tail, but then I think it would kind of turn into like a iguana kind of situation. But in any case, it's beautiful and I'm really happy with it. And I think I might be getting a bit of a WoW plushie problem. My Mischief plushie here, ever since I got it, has just been like sitting on my desk, just because look at his little smile. Like whenever something happens either in game or something I'm working on, or just like I read some news that just like really makes me feel bad, you can just look over at my desk and this dude's just like grinning at you like and like you can't be too mad when you've got the little Mischief plush just grinning at you. So yeah, I one day want to collect all the Blizzard plush because I've never gotten one that I haven't been super happy with. And I feel like more can only be better, but I need to cool it for now for sure. And yeah, so to reiterate, hopefully they fix PvP, and I will not be streaming this afternoon, not making too many videos in the rest of the month, but we'll be back full swing in January for sure. And we have some questions on the vlog to go over because I wouldn't forget that. Bill wants to know, hey Hazel or any other pet people, I've really gotten into pets recently and I just can't seem to get the Suramar pet quest to show up across 2 servers for the Legion World Quest achievement. So the Suramar, I had the same problem on beta actually when I was first making the pet battle videos on beta. You may notice some of the Suramar ones came at the very, very end. I couldn't figure out why they weren't appearing, and it was because I had not progressed far enough in the Suramar storyline. You need to do the Suramar quest line, you need to progress that, not quite to the end, but quite far, at least as far as the Vineyard, and possibly a little bit farther for one of them, but you need to progress the Suramar storyline quite far in order to unlock all the pet quests. Some of them they will not activate until you have progress to the area of the city where they spawn on a quest for them. So just keep doing Suramar quests. They're not time gated, the ones that you need to actually activate the pet thing. So you can just go and knock them all out in one day. It'll take a little bit of time, but you can get them done. There's a lot of artifact power to be had. And next time that the pet quests show up, as long as you have completed enough of the Suramar storyline, they should show up for you. If, of course, you have finished the Suramar storyline and you have never seen them, and you have confirmed that they have popped up, if you know somebody else that has that quest up and you haven't seen it, then I would take it a GM to see if there's anything else that you need to do. But for me, finishing the Suramar storyline was what allowed me to unlock those Suramar pet battle quests. Beer Cake wants to know, sorry if you're getting this question a lot, is Legion worth purchasing? I was really into Resto Druid and Holy Paladin WoD, and I'm afraid it won't be the same. Also, is the ability to remove the appearance of helmet and cape removed? So, to answer the easy question, you can still remove the appearance of your helmet and your cape. You can also now remove the appearance of your shoulder and your belt if you would like to do so. And that is all done at a transmog vendor. It does not cost you anything, but you do need to get to a transmog NPC, either with the mount or just like going to one in a city. It is free to hide those things, but you will need to see the NPC. It is no longer in your options menu, but yes, you can hide your helm, cape, shoulders, and belt. And then you're not sure if Resto Druid and Holy Paladin are going to be the same. So for me, this depends on a couple things. First is if you're looking to play those classes in PvE or PvP, I would not recommend coming back solely for PvP at this time. It's playable, but it's got some issues, and it's got a bit of an unshaky future, so if you are solely a PvP player and you were looking to come back and PvP heal, now is not the best time to do so. If you're looking to raid heal, especially if you know you have a group of people you'll be able to play with, or you have not had problems in the past finding people, I think it's a great time to come back. The raid content is as good as it's ever been. We're about to get a new raid, so you'll be able to get in on the ground floor of Nighthold. The classes may not play exactly the same as they did in Warlords. Resto Druid is fairly similar, but it's not identical. But the essence of raiding hasn't changed all that much, and the raiding's very good. So if you're looking to be a PvEer, you're looking to find a raiding guild or do some Mythic Plus or dungeon content, I would come back. I wouldn't expect your class to play exactly the same, but it's gonna feel enough like WoW doing PvE that it's gonna all work out. I would still recommend purchasing Legion. I would. Definitely for Nighthold. Nighthold's gonna be a great raid. Austrian 1991 says, I think I read a couple weeks ago on Twitter, you're thankful of how you're received in the US as an immigrant, and I just wondered where you are from and where your ancestors are from. So I'm from Canada. I immigrated from Canada to America, so not very far, and not a huge culture gap. There's a little bit of a culture divide, but nothing too crazy. So I'm Canadian. I'm second or third generation Canadian. I don't know exactly how you count that. But my grandparents, or my great-grandparents rather, several of them were from England, I believe. And then I think I had one great-grandparent from the Ukraine, but just run-of-the-mill Canadian that just had European ancestors, mostly British. Nothing too special. Run-of-the-mill Canadian, nothing too exotic. But I am very proud of being Canadian, and I do miss Canada a lot, especially this time of year when all my family is at home, in Canada doing Christmas things, and I can't quite go back there this year, but hopefully I'll eventually get to a point where I can afford to fly back up there at least every other year and spend Christmas with them. And then Eagle028 says, Hazel, do you have any tips to get better at PvP? So this is a very, very vague question. There's a bunch of different PvP and it plays very differently, whether you're trying to do battlegrounds or rated battlegrounds, arena, you're trying to heal, you're trying to DPS, whatever it is that you're trying to do. I would say that my best tip to get better would be to record yourself and then watch it and then actually make notes, like type them out or write them down as to things that, or at least say them out loud as to things that you think you could have done better. So I do this all the time, and it's the thing I found most helpful is I'll record my arena games and I'll watch them back, and it hurts. It sucks watching yourself make mistakes. So usually I'll get a plushie and I'll sit him on my lap and we'll watch together and I'll hug him, and then I'll watch back my game and I'll go, hey, I just got stunned out of form. I can see him walking at me from a mile away. I can see that his stun cooldown is up. I should have shifted at that point. Or I'll say, hey, this person, I see that they pop Vendetta, but I didn't Ironbark until 7 Global Slaver. Next time, I'm going to try and see that Vendetta earlier and Ironbark earlier. So I'll go through and I'll watch the games, and you'll notice yourself making the same mistakes. Usually people have an area that they can work on, whether it be positioning or cooldown management or kiting or uptime or whatever. There's usually at least one thing that you could really benefit from working on. And the best way to find that is to record yourself and watch yourself back. Aside from that, always be trying to find streams of players that do very well. and just watch to kind of see how they do in relation to that thing that you're working on. So it doesn't really do a whole lot of good to have somebody stream on your other monitor. You're not really watching, you're just kind of listening to them talk a lot. But if you know that you have a problem with positioning, and you can find a stream of a top-level player that plays your class, you can watch them play different comms and see how they position, where they put themselves on the map in relation to their healer or in relation to, you know, everything, and sort of see how the top-end players deal with the problem that you're having after you've identified your problem. So that's my biggest tip. Is to record yourself and watch yourself play. Of course, if your computer really can't handle it, then that's going to be a problem. But I find that OBS is a free piece of software. You do not have to stream. You just have to record, and it can record locally. You do not have to stream using OBS. You can just download OBS for free. You can record your games for free. It's fairly easy to set up. I might do a tutorial at some point, but fairly easy to set up. And then just watch those back and see where you can improve. So that's my best tip. Of course, depending on what you play and what you're trying to do, there's going to be more detailed info. But hopefully, I can get some PvP guides out next year after I've gotten a little bit of a better grounding in it. And that has been my week. So I hope you guys all have a very happy holiday. I do apologize for not having a whole lot of stuff out on the channel and for the missed stream this afternoon, but I'm just going to take it a little bit easy, sleep in a little bit, do some holiday stuff, and be back full force next year. So thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.